Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Spunky Spirit. I am psychic medium Carrie Muggs. And holy cow, today we are going to talk about not being small, like believing in who you are and expanding and growing and doing all the things, because it's interesting. Because first of all, I want to give a shout out to my Spirit Circle people. We did our last Spirit Circle last week and it was amazing. And I feel like a lot of them grew and expanded, and we talked about, and I know they listen to the podcast, so I'm going to shout out to you guys. Hello, I love you. Thank you for listening, but thank you all of you for listening, actually. But I just want to put a shout out to my Spirit Circle people because it was intense and it was fun. And so I do have another Spirit Circle coming up in March, on March 14th. And I think there's like 1 or 2 spots left for that. So if you are in the Idaho Falls area, you can come to that. I will probably hold some Spirit Circles online eventually. But right now we're just going to do them in person. And I also have a class coming up on March 23rd to connect to your spirit guides. If you've ever wondered about spirit guides or all the information about spirit guides, all things spirit guides, how to connect, and we'll be learning that too. So that's, I think, Saturday, March 23rd. So anyway, shout out to my peeps. I love you, all of you. But to the Spirit Circle people, I know you listen because you always tell me you do. So hello. Now, this weekend, it was very snowy where I live. Like our winter was not very, it was kind of nice because it wasn't a lot of snow. It wasn't a whole bunch of snow. It was just kind of springy almost. And then this weekend we got totally dumped on. And so I took the opportunity to read some books. And if you know me, I'm an avid book reader. I love to read books. I love spiritual growth, anything self-help, all that kind of stuff, anything feel good. And I read Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb, and it was pretty good. I started it a long time ago and kind of stopped in the middle just because things got busy and things got crazy, but I finished it, the rest of it this week, and I finished the end part was more about the spiritual journey she had. So if you don't know a lot about Shirley MacLaine, she had a very spiritual journey. She is one of those celebrities that will talk in interviews about past lives. She'll talk about her spiritual journey. She'll talk about all things spirit and not even give a qualm about it. And I love that. I love that about her. And in this book, Out on a Limb, it was, I think, in 1980s is when it was published. And she was in her 40s and she had a huge spiritual awakening. And it all started with some spiritual mediums and channeling, spirit mediums that were channeling. And then she went on a trip to Peru. But what I love about this book is it is one of the most read books that awaken people. Because I think when people read it, they weren't expecting Shirley MacLaine to talk about spiritual stuff. And so a lot of people picked it up not knowing, and it just kind of woken up a lot of people. And if you ask a lot of people who are my age or older, if you ask them when their spiritual awakening was, a lot of them will say, or what their favorite books were, a lot of them will say Out on a Limb by Shirley MacLaine. And so what I loved about this is the biggest message that she kept running into is that to receive the good or receive what you need to, you have to go out on a limb. You can't just play it safe. You can't just hold back and play it safe. And also too, she talks about in this book, she talks about how, and this is, this might ruffle some feathers, but it's what I have known to be true too. The divine or source is not something that's outside of us. God is not something outside of us. Divine or source in God is something that is within us. We are part of God. We are a part of that entity. We are eternal. We're never ending. And we have parts of, if you want to say him or her, inside of us. And we have that light within us that's part of the divine. So I know some people teach that we're children of God or we're daughters of God or sons of God. And no, we are And I know that this is going to, because God is eternal and God is majestic but God loves us and we are part of him, just like your kids are part of you. It's just who we are. It's just how it is. And so it's just beautiful. I think it's beautiful. And so a lot of people struggle with this concept, but it's who we are. We have a divine light of Christ within us, a divine light of universe, the divine light of that we have a divine light within us. And some people call it, there is an aura around us, but there's also like a light within us that is part of our soul and it's part of who we are. And we are eternal. And so we're here to not play it small. We're here to play it big because we forget who we are. We forget how powerful we are because there are frequencies or sources that be out there that want us to forget. They don't want us to remember how powerful we are. They don't want us to remember that we're part of this divine guidance, that we're part of. Because if we knew how powerful we were, this world would be completely different. But we don't. We second guess ourselves and we are insecure about ourselves. And that's kind of how these lower frequencies want it. Because when we are like that, we're easier to control. And so, and it's not a conspiracy theory. It's the truth. It's who we are. We're so freaking powerful and we have forgotten that that God is inside of us. God is part of who we are. So that's what I'm here to remind you of, that we are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit. And we play it small because of fear, or we play it small because of what people are going to think, or we play it small because we're afraid. We're afraid of the success. We're afraid that we're going to fail. And we are co-creators. You are a co-creator with the divine. So you can create pretty much anything you want to, but people get sidetracked on that because they don't think they can and they don't believe in themselves. And so I'm here to tell you to just try it. Try with small things. Try with, this is part of manifesting and co-creating. And I'm actually going to, if you watch my Instagram and you watch my Spunky Spirit, I will this week put out a manifestation journal or workbook that I will give you for free, because I just want to always remind me that you have everything and I've said this, I say this all the time, you have everything you need inside you. Why? Because you have the light of Christ. You have God's eternal light inside you. You are part of, it's not something outside of you. And I don't know how many times I can continue to tell you this and tell you this and tell you this, because even I, will be unconfident or insecure about things sometimes. And I don't want to say even we all are. We all get insecure about things, or we all forget who we are. It's my favorite part of The Lion King, because I'm a big Disney buff. If you follow me along, you know that. You follow along with me. When Mufasa comes back and says, when Simba's supposed to be king and Simba doesn't want to be king, Simba's playing it small. He's hiding. He doesn't want to face the facts that, there was something in his past that happened and he doesn't want to face it. So he's going to play it small. And it's so symbolic because Mufasa comes from the sky and says, you have forgotten who you are. Then therefore you have forgotten me. Because, this is going to make me cry, because God is inside of us. The divine is inside of us. So when we forget who we are, we forget the divine. And that's why it's so important for us to be who we authentically are. Because when we authentically love who we are, and when we are who we want to be, or who we are authentically, then we find God. So when we look for God outside of us, it's so much harder than when we look for God. When we look for God, we find ourselves. And when we look for ourselves, we find God, because that's who we're part of. So I don't care how you think of God as a universal thing, a divine thing, spirit. Some people call it spirit. I call it spirit. But it is part of who you are. And if you are part of that divinity, then you can do amazing things. We just forget how to do it. So we're going to stop playing small. And what does that mean? I'm going to look at my notes for just a second. That means we need to level up. This is different ways of saying stop playing small. Level up. Go for it. Do the thing. Do the damn thing. Just do it. Do what you're so scared of doing. Like move forward and go forward because it's not going to be easy and it is going to be hard, but it's because that's part of the journey, right? That's part of the journey. So experience life. Experience it. Don't just play small like Simba and eat bugs in the jungle. Like there's just a whole new world out there, whole new thing. And get brave enough to experience, get brave enough to go out on that limb, to do the thing and to remember who you are. So I know these are all like cliche sayings, but they're all so true. And you know where they're coming from, right? You know that they're coming from within people who have experienced the scariness of staying small or staying small. And it doesn't mean to go big. My brother says go big or go home. But it doesn't mean to go big or to level up. Doesn't mean you have to be famous. Who wants to be famous anymore, right? Like it just means to be you and to love your life the way it is and to enjoy the journey and to know that things are going to be hard sometimes and to embrace the hard, embrace the suck, embrace all of the things. I feel like I'm quoting all these things, but it's just kind of what it is. Just celebrate you, celebrate your greatness, celebrate who you are, celebrate your authenticity. And when you see other people, I think a reason why it's kind of scary for us to do it is because when we see other people acting out on social media or we see people going out on a limb, we got to judge them. We do. We automatically go, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could be that loud. I don't know if I could be that person. And just let them do it. In fact, I think I'm going to get a tattoo on my wrist that says, let them. Just let people be who they are. It's just because they're trying to experience life too. And they're trying to go big or go home. They're trying to celebrate their greatness. And when we judge them, we're stopping them. We're creating that. And because we judge them, we think, oh my gosh, people are judging us, right? So I'm just telling you right now, if I were to have stopped doing this mediumship work because of what other people thought, I wouldn't be here and you wouldn't be listening and I wouldn't have all the clients that I do that have helped and have come through their own awakening. So go out on this limb, okay? This also means stop chasing people and things that do not align with you. Like just because we think we have to be a certain way or just because people say we have to be this certain way, it can be what is stopping us. Just like Simba thought he had to be like Pumbaa and Timon. He had to eat bugs and he had to just kind of Hakuna Matata and just be no worries, which is great. But you can't grow and expand Hakuna Matata wise. Like you can. Hakuna Matata mostly means that you can grow and expand, but not worry about it because you know God's got you. You know you've got you. You're aligned with what your purpose is. But Simba was playing it small in the jungle. And he was eating bugs and he thought he was like a warthog or a meerkat that Timon was. And so he was playing a very small, and he was chasing something. He didn't even really know. He didn't have a purpose, right? He didn't know what he wanted to do. He just knew that he was Hakuna Matata every day and not having a purpose, which is fine sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to rest. I'm not saying you can't rest, and I'm not saying you can't take days in the jungle and just eat bugs. But I'm saying that sometimes you forget who you are and you forget your purpose. And sometimes you don't even know your purpose, right? Because we don't have one. We have multiple purposes. My purpose for when I was 5 is completely different from when I was 20 and had 4 kids. Well, I was actually 28 and had 4 kids. Or my purpose back then when I was 28 and had 4 kids and being a single mom sometimes was completely different than now. My purpose now is completely different. So we all have different purposes. And just because you can't figure it out right now, sometimes it's just that it can be something so small. And I think that people think that their purpose has to be gigantic and huge. And it doesn't. It can just be small right now. It can just be as a mom, you can just be, or as a grandma, you can just be that person for those kids, right? So just find out what brings you joy, what brings you happiness now, and go for that, do that purpose. And Simba, while he liked Hakuna Matataing in the jungle, he always knew he was made for something greater. He knew that there was something more. And Nala came to remind him that, and Mufasa came to remind him that. So Stop chasing what is not for you, what does not bring you joy. It's easy to rest and relax, but at the end of the day, when you find discomfort, it's because you're not growing. If you're stagnant and you're not growing, you become depressed, you become sad, you become stuck. And so we're always expanding. And even though it can be uncomfortable, and even though it can be hard, we're always expanding. And there's always ancestors and spirits guiding us and directing us while we're expanding. We're not doing it alone. And I think that's another fear, is we think that we're doing it alone. But just like with Simba, Mufasa was always there. Ancestors were always there watching over him and helping him, even though not in physical form, but in spirit. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I'm telling you, heaven is not a place. Heaven is a frequency. Your loved ones and ancestors are guiding and directing you during this journey. You just can't see them, okay? And it doesn't have to be all at once. You can take baby steps, just tiny baby steps, because it's so hard to just bite off, eat the whole elephant, right? All of it at once. Just do little baby steps. So if you just do little tiny things every day to go towards whatever brings you joy, then, or just even like Google, okay, what would happen if I wanted to take this trip? Or what would happen if I wanted to go into this? Or what would happen if I wanted to build this home? Or what if I wanted to go into this career? If you just kind of start putting it out there, you're going to start kind of co-creating it with the divine. And also too, you have to believe in you. You can't just be like, oh, I could never do that. That's not something I could do. I always used to say all the time, I could never public speak. But then I started to do stuff like this, and now I'm not the best at it, and I have my ADHD brain going all the time, but I do it, and it does fulfill me, because I couldn't do this podcast if I couldn't do it, right? Be vulnerable. You can't grow and expand, and you can't play big if you're not vulnerable. And that's where it gets hard too, because we're so worried about what people are going to think of us when we're vulnerable. And you know what? Who cares? Who the F cares, right? Who cares? Just be vulnerable, be you, because we can't be authentic if we're not vulnerable. We can't. It's just something that we have to put ourselves out on a limb. I just keep going back to her book, put yourself out on a limb, go out on a limb. But also too, be accountable. Be accountable for your stuff, right? Be accountable for you. There are lots of reasons we do things, and there are lots of, but own it. Own why you do things. Own when you make mistakes. Own who you are. Own it. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, especially when they stop playing small. When you go big, you become vulnerable, and you play big, and you go out on a limb, and you take all of the risk. But without risk, there's no magic. So just do the thing that you want to do, right? But be accountable for your actions. Don't blame on anybody else. Don't blame it on lower frequencies. Don't blame it on curses. I believe in those things, and they can happen, but you know what? Only if you let them, and only if you have that choice. So if you go to an energy place and they tell you you have all these, then get rid of them. Get rid of, not the energy people, but if they tell you have lower frequencies around you, then choose to not let them be around you. Choose to not do the things that invite those things in. Make a choice. You have a choice. You always have a choice. Also, too, be willing to choose yourself. Expansion only comes when you choose yourself. And we struggle with this because we think that choosing ourselves is selfish, especially women. We think that if we choose ourselves, that we are being selfish, and that is so not true, because you are here for your journey. You can co-create, and you can create other people. But you, honestly, at the end of the day, when those kids grow up and they're 50 years old, they really have no obligation to you. They really don't. And you don't have any obligation to your parents, and they don't have any, and you, just because we're born in this culture where we feel like we have obligation to people, we really don't. We can do whatever we want. Now, I would add that we don't hurt people onto that, but we also can create boundaries, and we can also live our lives fully to the fullest. But it's hard when other people, especially family members, don't, what is it called? They don't, not enjoy, but they don't agree with your life choices. It's really not for them to agree on, right? So you do you, because that's how you go big. That's how you live your divine light. That's how you make your light brighter. That's how you shine the hell out of the place, is you do you. Now, and focus on you. Focus on you, because you can, if you feel, if you are an empath and you want to help people, that's totally fine, because that's who you are. That's your purpose, and that's what you're focusing on. But always fill up your cup too. Always wear your oxygen mask too, because nothing is going to be worse than you going to the other side and saying, I did all this because, service is great. And service is how you help people. But I do service to people. I do readings for people. I help people awaken. I do this podcast. I kind of open people's minds. I let them know that their ancestors are with them. But I sure as hell focus on me now, because I used to not. And I got sick and I got worn out and I almost had to quit doing what I was doing, and I got a tumor. And so now the game has completely changed. And now I focus on me, and I am the first one that I have to take care of, because if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of you. And I can't take care of my kids, and I can't take care of my grandkids. So I do what brings me joy, and I'm ready to play big. So, and that doesn't mean everything to everybody. Success is different for everybody, right? For me, it's just helping people and helping people be aware and having people be seen. It doesn't mean people want to be famous or people want to be well known. It just means that there's a domino effect. I always go back to Sam Beckett on Quantum Leap, when he just helps one person at a time. And sometimes that's all you can do. And sometimes that person's you. So go big or go home, baby. That's what I say. So this is a reminder for you to play it big. Stop playing small. You are divinely guided by the Most High God. And so remember that. And remember, this is the biggest thing, that you have everything you need already inside of you. Because you know who's inside of you? Your Creator. I love you guys so much. Please check out all of my things that are coming up. I do have Spirit Circles coming up. I do have a class coming up. I'm also going to be doing some more stuff in April. My event for March did sell out, but I'm going to be doing more. So, because I'm going to go big. So, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.